Welcome to Safeword by Fear and Greed. I'm Aylmer. Despite what you're about to hear, the following 30 minutes claims to be a business podcast. After all, it's made by the Fear and Greed team, responsible for Australia's most popular business podcast. So surely it's about business. It's called Safeword for a reason. Every week we pick a safe word. That means we can bail out of the conversation anytime, and that safe word does tend to get used pretty regularly. I'm joined, of course, by my colleagues from Fear and Greed. Adam Lang, a man with an eye for detail, a man who wears a big puffer jacket rather than putting on the heater at home, a man who sends a text message if you're running 1 minute late. You know, the type. A man who actually knows what he's doing as well. Adamski, good morning.
Good morning to you, Sean.
Michael Thompson, a wearer of not just striped T-shirts, but this week we've realised, now that it's gotten colder, he wears striped sweaters as well. A man who is constantly positive and happy despite the inadequacies of his colleagues, but also a man who loves a good gripe. Mickey T, good morning.
Hello, Sean. I was a bit concerned where you were talking about inadequacies, but carry on.
Mm-hmm. And a very typical comment of Mickey T there. And I'm Aylmer. I'm the person who basically holds it all together, the voice of uncertainty amidst all the indecision. I try to keep things moving along and make the others look good. Isn't an easy task, I got to say. But we are called Safeword for a reason. We pick a new safe word every week. Now, last week we had a listener give us an option. Jelly was that option. I have no idea why. That was our safe word last week. Mickey, do we have any suggestions for this week?
Well, I've entirely closed off the potential for anyone to feed us a safe word, because last week that got out of control where we basically just handed the keys to the show over to someone else entirely. So I have learnt from last week. But look, I think in picking a safe word, we probably have to acknowledge the elephant in the room, which is that, Adam, you sound like you're on death's door.
Well, fortunately, I'm not. I'm COVID negative. You're both quite safe, but I think I sound a lot worse than I feel. But I've got a suggestion for a safe word this week.
Go on. Mm-hmm. And it's not tissues or snot or something like that.
No illness, no. It's the professional accreditation that I've seen a lot of people take on the social media, on the LinkedIn machines and so on. And it's interesting. I've never heard it before, and I'm certainly not qualified to be one. But the safe word suggestion of the week is thought leader.
Oh, ouch.
That's a good one.
Ouch.
Are either of you a thought leader?
Oh, well, I don't want you knowing what's going on in my mind, because it's pretty crazy up there.
Yes, following your thoughts, it would take you to a dark place sometimes, wouldn't it?
Right.
But Adam, you say that you're not qualified to be one, but I don't think there is actually a qualification that anyone requires to become a thought leader. You just declare yourself one.
Can you spell it?
I can.
Do you hyphenate it?
It is 2 words. No, I don't.
Well, therefore, you're a thought leader then.
Okay, so that's the safe word of the week.
Thought leader.
I'd follow your thoughts, Adam. Your thoughts are generally fairly well ordered. I would not follow Sean's.
No.
His a bit kinky.
Well, Mickey, thank you. I do offbeat.
Maybe mine are a bit comprehensive.
What I do like about Adam's thoughts is that sometimes they take you in directions you never ever thought you were going before you arrive there. And we've discussed this before. You can listen to Adam and his thought leadership, which we've just both agreed that he is a thought leader. And the next time you hear it, when the recording's being played back and you're listening, you think, oh, he was talking about something totally different. I was off on a tangent there.
And also, I would like to say that Adam, and this is very, very different to how we would normally start a show. Normally, we are kind of, a minute in and we're already hammering you about something. But, Adam, you are...
It's taken that long.
Actually quite well qualified to be a thought leader. You've been the CEO of an ASX-listed company. You advise kind of companies and boards and things. You actually are a genuine thought leader. And that's I'm not even making fun of you. You could put on your LinkedIn profile, Adam Lang, thought leader.
Okay, I'm going to use safe word on that safe word. Thought leader.
Oh, really? You've safe worded yourself so early.
Yes.
But just because we're being nice, just because Mickey is actually being nice to you, I appreciate it. Very uncomfortable position for you. Not one.
It is.
It's a fairly
weird, isn't it?
Rare, isn't it? Really, we don't. Yeah. In fact, none of us are comfortable about it.
It makes me feel very wary about what's coming next.
But he is right. You are actually, well, admittedly, the other two in this podcast certainly are not thought leaders. So maybe the competition is not real strong. But you should be considered a thought leader.
All right, well, let's put that to the test. Let's get into some topics of business.
Oh, he's avoiding it. Okay, so let's get into it. Mickey, what are the fear and greeters? Oh, geez, I don't like that. I'm sorry I said that. I mean, the Googlers, we're the fear and greeters. Basically, our community, the people that listen to us, our people, what are they saying?
The fear and greed community, what are they saying? So basically, what have we heard through the week on our social media and through our website, fearandgreed.com.au? We had this email come in through the week through that website, and it came in from Damien. And he said, just wanted to say, I love the show. I've been living in the UAE for the past 11 years. So look at that. Safeword is officially an internationally appealing podcast. He said, just finished listening to this week's Safeword, being last week's, and heard your campaign for a 4-day working week. I thought you'd be interested to know that here in the UAE, the entire public sector, all schools and some private companies shifted to a 4.5-day work week on January 1 this year. I love it. Every weekend's a long weekend. Okay, I thought, thanks, Damien. That's good feedback and great to know that you're listening on the other side of the world. But a 4.5-day work week, I mean, that's just stupid, right? Because who is going to be concentrating for half a day at work? And is it at the beginning of the day? Is it the end of the day? Do people get to choose?
Well, I mean, the Friday morning, your half day, you're organising what you're doing for the weekend.
Exactly.
When else am I going to get the chance to organise a weekend?
So you think it's a 4.5-day working week already, Sean?
And actually, you know what? This leads perfectly into something that just occurred to me that I really, really hate. And look at me being an amateur thought leader here. It is, do you remember casual Fridays when you used to work in the office? And people would come in on a Friday wearing shorts and a T-shirt and just looking like they've walked in off the beach. I'm like, what kind of a message does that send to the rest of the office? That clearly says that you're not planning on meeting any clients today. You're not going out selling anything. You're not actually going to be doing anything that productive outside of the office. You're just going to spend the day kind of fiddling around at your desk, and then you bugger off about 2 p.m. I think casual Fridays should be banned.
But everything's it's like casual Monday to Friday, isn't it now?
Well, now.
Post-COVID?
Now, but I mean, that's different. I mean, my gripe is a very retrospective gripe. I'm complaining about the way things used to be.
I mean, Adamski, you've always been a big one for workplace fashion.
Perhaps more formal workplace fashion, yes. Can I combine the two? Because I think 4.5-day working week, particularly for the United Arab Emirates, I think that's a real pitch for them as a global work destination, because who wouldn't look at that and go, ooh, that might be the extra thing that gets me over the line. I'll give that a go. So
I'm that person that does not look at that and go, oh, that's going to get me over the line. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go to New Zealand.
I'm going to work longer. So there may be some people who look at that and go, yeah, I'll give that a go. And obviously from our listener's point of view, he thinks it's good. It's working for him. But then you get into the workplace fashion element. I've never been a rap for it, right? Because if you're going out to meet with clients, suppliers, or represent your business, at some level you should look like you care. And I think the interpretation over workplace fashion has been incredibly broad. So board shorts and thongs, I don't know if they'll cut it in terms of occupational health and safety, let alone representing the business well. But it does appear through COVID, right, that it's changed again. So it might not just be casual Friday. It might be semi-casual or athletic wear every day.
Leisure wear, please.
It's leisure wear, Sean.
Is it indoor runner wear every day then?
Oh, I'd say a yes to that. When working from home only.
And obviously the background to that being your indoor runners. You and I worked together closely for some time in an office. Mm-hmm. Were you ever tempted to bust out those super, super white indoor runners? Because you used a standing desk, and I know your justification for wearing runners indoors is just so that you have comfort for your feet while you're using your standing desk. Were you ever tempted to bust out the indoor runners in the workplace?
No, Michael. And on Fridays, I might loosen up a lot by wearing a slightly less formal tie.
But not much.
No, a little bit of extra colour.
Adamski, we've both worked with you for many years. It wasn't until we stopped working together that I ever saw you without a tie on. And, you and I would attend functions. It'd be late at night. I can think of a few very late at night.
We had a lot of debriefing to do.
We had a lot of debriefing to do, and you were always meticulously well dressed, no matter what. Then I remember when you left your employer, and I met you for a cup of coffee one day, and I think it was the first time I'd seen you without a tie. You still had a lovely collared shirt, a nice pair of slacks, sensible shoes, but you didn't have a tie on. I thought, oh, is that him?
No, loosened right up.
So we come to a conclusion then on workplace fashion. So thongs are out, indoor runners are in, and you can't wear a tie on Fridays. It seems a very kind of vague.
Lots of rules, isn't it?
I reckon you can wear what you want. I'm totally laissez-faire.
I think that's what it's going to end up being.
I'm at the other end of the spectrum to Adam. If you don't want to wear anything, turn up naked for all I care.
Oh, God.
Old mate, you want to let old mate out? Let old mate out.
Leader.
Did you just refer to something as old mate?
Michael, you always use the phrase old mate, which in my world growing up just meant something different.
No, that's the old fella. That is a different thing altogether to old mate. Old mate is just a generic term for anyone whose name you can't quite remember at the moment.
Can't say old fella.
I said thought leader.
Okay, fine. Well, under the terms of the Safeword Act, we do need to stop talking about that because Adam has invoked the safe word. So that's fine. We will move on. Can I mention one? And this is actually quite a serious topic.
Oh, good.
And this is actually a proper serious business topic. And I don't know what's actually happened to me today because so far today I have been very nice to Adam, which rarely happens on this podcast.
It won't last.
And now I'm raising a serious business topic. So, and this is made by a genuine thought leader, Qantas CEO Alan Joyce, who I think we could all agree is probably a thought leader in that he's a fairly outspoken CEO. People listen to what he says, and he is an influential person both in business and really in politics as well in Australia. Do we all agree on that?
Yes. We all agree. Well, I do.
Okay, moving on. So he said recently that the next big threat to the airline industry, which is obviously after COVID, the current threat being COVID, the next big threat to the airline industry is something called flight shame. And so it's basically climate guilt. And apparently it's something that's really starting to emerge in Europe, where people are apparently limiting their flights because of the impact on the climate. So he said there's kind of three solutions to this issue of flight shame. He said there's buying aircraft that produce kind of less emissions, using new fuels that are much more efficient, and then by paying to offset emissions. So you've got the three kind of main ones. So you've got the more efficient aircraft, more efficient fuel, or just paying to offset the emissions. And about 10% of Qantas passengers currently do that. They pay to offset their emissions. The main thing he doesn't want to see, and no one is going to be surprised by this, is he doesn't want to see people not flying because they're worried about the impact on the environment. And look, it's probably an easy thing to say in Europe, yeah, I'm not going to fly because of the climate guilt, because generally speaking, things are a bit closer together than they are in Australia. And you've also got a very good kind of rail network connecting a lot of cities within Europe. Admittedly, you do still have to be on those trains for a fair bit. But I don't know, Adam, I can't see you ever jumping on a train and going from Sydney to Melbourne or Sydney to Brisbane.
I can't see Adam in an economy class.
No.
Thank you, Sean. Make me feel much more comfortable. Now we're back into the normal Safeword terrain.
Is this a thing? Is this a thing here? Do you think we actually have climate guilt when it comes to flying?
I think we do, and I think it's increasing at a fairly rapid rate. And I think, the three things that you outlined, more efficient aircraft, more efficient fuel, those two things are probably more at the margins, but it's more the carbon offsets. And for a competitive pitch, it could be very, very difficult for Qantas to go this alone, right? To start, enforcing people to pay that as part of their ticket. But I think that's what he's starting to do. He say, look, we'll do the things on the more efficient fuels and planes, but we really want everyone to adopt this basically default position whereby you buy carbon offsets with your ticket and you just take it as part of the price. And so they don't lose competitive market share. I think there's also Australia's a bit out of context with the rest of the world in a way that's quite interesting. And this is, for people who live overseas, in America in particular, it's not like COVID never happened, but gee, their way of life is a lot closer to what it was pre-COVID than it is here in Australia. And I think Europe is somewhere in between. And part of those lifestyles of living in America, living in Europe with massive populations has been, well, it's okay. You know, that's how you live your life, is to go traveling on planes a lot. So I think it's probably going to be okay to ask people to consider carbon offsets, but it's not going to be really commercially or culturally acceptable to say don't fly anymore or fly less. Now, the other side in Australia is that, geez, we don't have many alternatives. I mean, you can drive, you can get some trains.
Oh, I love a road trip though.
Yeah, road trips are great.
I would gladly drive from Melbourne to Brisbane and listen to the Bee Gees all the way. But clearly I would be doing that trip on my own.
Concert for one.
Carry on.
Carry on. But we don't have many options. We've relied on the car so much here. So I think it's a great topic, but I think what we're seeing with what Alan Joyce has asked for is for an industry position to be taken rather than them having to go it alone. I don't know whether that's possible. I mean, Sean, how are you seeing it?
Oh, with respect to Alan Joyce, he's talking his book totally. There is no way you can replace a car trip on Sydney, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, Brisbane, Melbourne. Canberra, Sydney, maybe. That'd be the only regular route which you could say, actually, I don't want to jump in a plane because of carbon emissions. I think you just nailed it, Adam. I just reckon that Alan Joyce wants a uniform position so that Virgin and Qantas and Jetstar all add on $3.50 or $5 or $14 or whatever it is to help offset carbon emissions. You know, planes are one of the biggest carbon emitters of all. Now, they're talking about hydrogen-powered planes, but they're still years away.
Yeah,
they really are. And green hydrogen, they think, can be developed for heavy industry, mining and things like that, but not really for for trucks transport, but not for planes, not yet anyway. So I just think he is sort of opening the way for the concept of people ticking the box, or as you say, Adam, not ticking the box, making it compulsory. Maybe you have to tick the box if you want to opt out or something or other. As opposed to the whole Europe thing where you just jump in a train. You know, you're travelling around Italy, jump in a train much faster.
Well, I know a couple of people who are very avid climate campaigners, right? So they are very, very green, but they have never let that come between them and flying anywhere. And in fact, they will fly maybe once a month for leisure, like put business to one side. They will fly somewhere in the country or elsewhere around the world, almost probably once a month. And I questioned them once on it because I don't mind an awkward conversation sometimes. And I just said, how do you reconcile that with your kind of such passionate support of the environment and criticism of other kind of emissions? And they said, well, the plane's going there anyway.
Brilliant.
I just don't know if that works, does it? But anyway, we don't speak anymore. So
I did the Melbourne Sydney trip in the last week, and I think I actually did tick the carbon offset box for the first time.
Yeah, good.
And I never have, and it wasn't actually much more money. Like, I'm trying to remember, there's $15 or $17.
No, I did the same, Sean. I did a few weeks ago, and I also ticked it, but I have been for a few years.
Yeah, no, well, I haven't, but it just the awareness of it, perhaps. And so I'm much more likely to do it now than what I was.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Now, can I bring on Anthony Albanese today, Thursday, gets out of isolation with COVID. And over the last week, there's been a lot of discussion about the fact that Alba hasn't been president and whether he's done enough virtually. Scott Morrison being able to take advantage of that. Richard Marles stepping in, the deputy Labor leader, but he doesn't have the profile of Anthony Albanese, etc., etc. I'm interested in what you both think about Albo's COVID and whether it's helped or hindered him. Mickey.
Oh, look, I don't think it's really affected it either way. In a way, I think it's actually been good because it means that we've suddenly seen more of the rest of the Labor team. And in terms of kind of participating in interviews and things like that, all of that can be done remotely. Sure, we haven't seen the nightly shots on the news of Albo at a factory or Albo at a school and meeting people and things, and so there would be harm in that respect. But you have suddenly seen a lot more of Penny Wong and Richard Marles and others as well that certainly do not have the same kind of face and name recognition that Albo does. So it probably has affected a bit in that way. But look, it's also made him feel like one of us, one of all of us now, people who have been kind of struck down and forced into isolation and working from home. Admittedly, most of us don't have to do it in the middle of an election campaign in which we're hoping to become Prime Minister.
Yeah, what do you reckon, Adamski?
So, look, I know it started to change a bit in that we're starting to see some policy things. I actually don't think Albo being in isolation is a bad thing in terms of the campaigning. I think to both of your points, we've seen more of the team members, and I think that's a good thing. But I would love to see more policy announcements, not just the whacking that goes on. And I shouldn't be too optimistic on that, really, but I'm really hopeful that that's what we'll see. We'll start to see more of a contest of policies in the coming weeks up to May 21.
Do you, when you vote, Adam?
Mm-hmm.
Because I should have known how much of a detailed, kind of focused person you were, having seen it. You're the only person that I know that creates spreadsheets by hand using pen and paper if he needs to work something out, and you're not near a computer.
An Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, you will actually just create your own spreadsheet rather than just writing a pros and cons list. You will design a spreadsheet on a scrap of paper, and it's a thing to behold. It is pretty amazing. And I realized this recently in one of our other Fear and Greed podcasts, whereby you are judging the arguments that Sean and I are making relating to the news of the week, and
Yes.
you do it all up as a bit of a spreadsheet, and you give us points, and you take down our key points and everything we're talking about, and it's like a 10-minute podcast, and you produce enough kind of written material that we could have been talking for 3 hours. The written notes are longer than what we actually say in the podcast. But when it comes then to the election, are you taking notes on policies? Are you kind of doing a pros and cons list and kind of weighting them on a different scale and or is it just a gut feel in the end as to who's going to do it for you?
And an extra question before you answer, Adamski.
Supplementary, yes.
Well, supplementary, that's right. When you fill in the Senate form...
Oh, we know which way we know how he's going to answer this.
Do you just fill in some number at the top, or do you number everything underneath the line?
Okay. So when it comes to Senate forms, I'm sure you'll both be happy to know I go both ways. I do.
Hang on.
Dear Adam. Thought leader.
I'll agree.
So back on track. I have done both where I've felt the need to. Yes. And there's been quite a long list of candidates. That piece of paper just gets longer and longer and longer. I do not have a...
Certainly does.
Paper, right.
Yeah.
Carry on.
Unusual euphemism. Anyway, go on.
I do not have a record of I haven't been keeping notes, but I am keeping in my head what the policies are, and that will indeed feed into my final position. And, it won't surprise either of you to know, but also probably our Fear and Greed and Safeword audiences, that
You're voting for Clive Palmer. No?
I'm very pro-business. I think business is good and healthy for the economy, and they should be supported to exist, to begin, to thrive and employ people. So that's really what I'm looking for.
Well, it's a good question. Like, do you just vote on what you think is good for society, or do you vote on what's going to make you more money? Like, I reckon that last election, all the tax changes would have hurt, that Labor was proposing, would have hurt people financially. So they didn't vote for them.
I agree with that too, Sean.
I mean, it's not right, because really you would like that all politicians are thinking about the big picture. But I reckon I just vote for what's best for me.
Well, I like to think that you can achieve both, but probably it's very difficult, and everyone will be subjective on what is best for society and then what's best for them.
How do you vote, Mickey? Do you vote? Being a young hipster-style person?
always. I'm.
I reckon you would postal vote. I would think the worst thing for you is to get with all those people in a crowded room, couldn't give a toss about the sausage singer, so you postal vote, I bet.
No, I don't. I vote in person, but I'm very, very secretive. I mean, I don't like disclosing anything to anyone about anything ever, and so that's why I don't even take. I don't take the how to vote cards from anyone in case they think, therefore, that's a declaration that I'm going to vote for their candidate.
Oh, I'm the opposite. I take every one of them and say, oh, no, I've been looking for this one. Oh, yes, I've been looking for this one. It doesn't matter who they are.
You're friends with everybody.
Is that the Greens? Great, thanks. Is that United Australia? Oh, God, excellent. Thank you very much. And so just make them, these people are standing outside the polling booth all day. They just need a bit of encouragement. I don't care who they're from. They're doing what they believe is important. So take it from them. Labor, great, thanks. Coalition, oh, excellent.
I will acknowledge them on the way through, but I won't take their paper. I mean, that's just a waste.
Cursory nod.
No,
that's worse. That's like, I acknowledge you are from the coalition. I acknowledge you are from Labor, but I'm not taking your piece of paper. You're actually indicating, not you. And these people feel bad.
Well, I'm not taking just one and the others. Look, you just said acknowledging. This is a terrible segue, but I have a funny story to tell you, and it is about acknowledging people. It is going to send us off in an entirely different direction. But I don't know if you saw this story, and it is still business related. It's workplace related. This is a story from the New York Post. In a nutshell, I'll summarize it for you. There was a bloke in Kentucky. It was his birthday. He didn't want to have a birthday party at work. His colleagues threw him one anyway. The poor guy had a panic attack, and it sounds like it was really poorly handled by the workplace.
Ooh,
and
ouch.
In the end, this bloke ended up getting fired. So as I say, it was pretty badly handled by the company. He sued, and he was awarded about $500,000 US dollars. It was a shocker the way it was done.
Wow.
But we won't get into the specifics of that one. But I actually wanted to ask you about acknowledging birthdays in the office, because I don't think there is anything more awkward than an office birthday, except for one. Like, I think standing around singing with cake is a pretty uncomfortable thing in an office environment. But I've got to tell you about a different version of it that took place. This was when my wife was doing a freelance job in an office. She was only there for one day, and unfortunately it coincided with the boss's birthday. So instead of everyone kind of standing around and singing happy birthday and having a cake, they did something, and this is why it kind of jogged my memory. They did something called an acknowledgement circle. And so the boss stood in the middle of the circle. Everyone else from the office stood around him in a giant ring of people facing in towards the boss in the middle. And one by one, the boss turned to every person in the circle, complete silence, and stared them in the eyes, acknowledging their presence, and they would have to nod at him as a silent wish of kind of best wishes for your birthday, and then he would return the nod, look them in the eye for a moment.
What, one by one?
And then turn to the next person and repeat the process for every single person in the office.
So was Sian in the circle?
Yes, she was in the circle because she was working in the office. She didn't even know him, let alone kind of that it was his birthday. And so he then accepted her silent kind of birthday wish and acknowledged it with a nod and then moved on to the next person.
Sian would have started giggling.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
How David Brent is that?
That is. It is. It sounds like it's made up, but it is not. And she came home and said, "You will not believe what happened today in this office."
How do you know when it's finished?
We've gone around the circle.
Do you just like turn around and walk away?
Yeah, I suppose so. Well, it's kind of like that awkward bit at the end of the birthday cake and everything as well. Like after the song's finished, everyone just kind of get their cake and head back to the desk anyway. You know, sorry, I'm really kind of on a bit of a high horse on this one. But there is one thing more awkward than having an office birthday. It is when you share your birthday, and this might have happened to someone I know, maybe me, when you share your birthday with someone else in the office and that person sits 2 desks away from you and everyone has a cake and stands around and sings happy birthday to the other person, and they don't acknowledge your birthday, even though it is known that it is your birthday as well. Oh, geez, didn't realise how many people I've pissed off in here.
Oh, that's bad.
So did you share in the cake, Michael, or did you just let them get on with their ceremony?
I think I might have pretended I was on a phone call for about 40 minutes. Just
very busy.
I think the birthday, the singing, the most uncomfortable I think I've been is singing happy birthday with 6 other people who are colleagues, not exactly friends, to someone whom you don't really know that well. And everyone's sort of mumbling it because no one actually wants to demonstrate their voice in that situation. It is cringeworthy, and your toes are curling up in your shoes and you just want it to end as fast as possible.
Yep. Yeah, and you get to the name part and no one knows what to actually call them.
That's right, happy birthday. And then just occasionally I've been in that situation and someone has expected me to say something about the person.
Oh, no.
And that's even worse. Because
that's when you're on a phone call for 40 minutes. Like, sorry, guys, I'll be back.
I don't want to say anything about them. They don't want me to say anything about them. The room doesn't really want to hear from me. But somehow, I can specifically tell you why. It's because the person organising it turns and says, well, Sean, why don't you say something about Jane or Billy? Look, Jane and I, we've worked together for many years. I've always appreciated her work and her friendship. And happy birthday, Jane. Enjoy the cake. It's
that's good.
It is excruciating. But you can't really say that. You've got to say something different. So you're trying to think of some funny little anecdote that, you ran into in the tea room or something or other, and she just
Well, fortunately, Adam would carry around a spare speech just in case that kind of situation arose.
It's a spreadsheet, Michael.
Yep. Let me just go to my filing system. Birthday, male, recipient, over the age of 40, known him for X number of years, this speech. And he just pulls it out of his pocket.
Yes, his pocket.
In terms of slight tangent again, but yeah, I was prepared on the weekend. I was asked to do the AFL award for the player who earned 3 votes, the best player on the day, the one who earned 2 votes, and the one who earned 1 vote.
So was that the Essendon Collingwood game, Adam?
No. It was a little more important than that. It was the under-15s local club AFL team.
Oh, right. Sorry.
And
easy mistake to make, though, Sean. Carry on.
Of course.
Carry on, Adam.
Higher pressure.
Yeah.
So the coach turned to me seconds before the siren's about to start and said, can you do the 3, 2, 1s? I said, okay. And so I did the task, and Lara at the end of the game said, what were you doing? Because I felt that I needed to be very comprehensive, and I had run up and down the ground throughout the game, taking down all the numbers who did something exceptional while they played.
Oh, Adam.
Now, when
they just want their snakes. They don't want a speech. They just want the snakes.
No, they don't get it. They never find out until the end of the season. It's like the Brownlow of the amateur competition. And so I showed the coach what I had put into my phone as I ran up and down the ground for 4 quarters. And he said, what is that? And then I described it to him. He burst out laughing, but did appreciate my efforts. And so a very comprehensive and authoritative 3, 2, 1 was given.
Having it sprung on you at your farewell from your previous role, I remember someone then kind of told me in the middle of the dinner, and it had been a pretty good dinner to that point, clearly. Then said to me, he goes, "Hey, just a heads up, you have to say a few words in a minute." And at that point, I was not expecting to be saying anything, so I wasn't A, prepared, or B, in a state to speak. And so I'm pretty sure I disappeared to the bathrooms. Just
very wise.
Right, so that was the reason. There was no speaker. And here's Michael Thompson. We'll say it again. And here's Michael Thompson.
Yep. 45 minutes later, he comes back. Which is actually a far worse thing to do, to spend 45 minutes in the bathrooms, because people make all kinds of weird assumptions about you then. I'm a thought leader myself because I'm going in a place I don't.
Yeah, thought leader yourself. Doesn't happen often, but it's probably time.
Look, I appreciate what you're saying, though, Adam. It's not fun having that sprung on you, and likewise, Sean. But look, if you ever need advice on how to avoid the singing part,
Did you forget my name just then?
No, did I?
Who's the other bloke?
Yeah, he said, yeah, no, that's right, Adam, and likewise,
old mate.
Sean.
Yeah, old mate. Yeah, well, you would be
Old mate.
Yeah, Sean, old mate Aylmer. And if you ever need a tactic on how to avoid singing "Happy Birthday" in a workplace environment, you implement the church singing principle, which is where you just mouth the words with great kind of gusto, and you do not actually say anything.
It's really hard when there's only like 5 people there, though. That's the problem.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Can you sing, Sean?
No, I'd love to be able to, but I'm just crap.
Adam?
No, definitely not. I'm like John. I'd love to be able to, but no.
Isn't that disappointing? I really thought that we were going to have kind of hidden talent here. Someone was going to
Do a harmony?
Oh, we could have been the new Bee Gees.
We could have. You've heard me sing though, Michael.
I have.
I've sung in front of you.
And we've recorded it. So it's these things have a habit of finding their way onto
This is Sean's, he puts in sort of fill music whenever there's something needs doing and we haven't quite got time. It's the girl from Ipanema.
Oh, no more. We have to pay for it if you keep going.
Thought leader. I think we are running out of time, Michael and Adam.
The theme music has come on. It's like the Grammys
That's right.
when they rip you off the stage when you're going on for too long.
Thank you very much for listening to Safeword by Fear and Greed. You are now apparently known as Fear and Greeders. You're part of our community, which we appreciate. We would love to hear from you. Any of your normal social media platforms, leave a review, leave 5 stars. We love to hear from you. Mickey, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Sean.
Adamski, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sean.
That was Safeword by Fear and Greed. Don't forget to hit follow on Safeword so you get a new episode every week. Tell your friends, your family, your colleagues. Tell everyone. Sing it, in fact. Sing it. I'm Sean Aylmer. Have a great day.